y'all, what's going on? Kate here from Rise and Shine Wood Science. Today I want to talk to you about the Beast bit from IDC Woodcraft. This incredible bit has a steel core. I will not be able to break this bit. This bit will break my Makita router hands down without even trying, and this bit will not miss a beat. So what we're going to do today is we're going to test this sucker out and see what feeds and what speeds we can run this Makita router at safely while still using the Beast bit and getting the benefits of using this roughing end mill. So I have a piece of cherry hardwood. It's about 14 inches by 4.5 inches wide. I've got the Beast bit in here, ready to go. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. Made some notes because we've got a lot of feeds and things going on here. So first things first, when you're running this bit, you can up your speed and your feed, but you do not want to change the plunge on this. I believe Garrett has it set at a 80 inches for the plunge, which is fine. You can leave that. We don't want to change that. We do want to change, however, the feed rate. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out at 100 inches per minute, work up to 150 and 200. I'm not going to lie, I did some tests on this before at 250 inches per minute, and I may or may not have damaged a couple of my clamps. Whoopsie. Oh well, lessons learned. So anyway, we are, actually, you know what, I'm going to make a side note. You can actually watch all the way to the end of the video, and I will throw a blooper in for you guys to show you that exact moment where the Beast just cleans off part of my clamp. So stay tuned for that. All right, back to it. So we're going to be doing 100 inches a minute, 150 inches, 200 inches a minute, and then we are going to do at 3/4 of an inch deep, and then we are going to go to 1 inch deep at 100, 150, and 200. Like I said, we're not going to attempt the 250 inches a minute. It just doesn't work with the Makita router. Please don't attempt it, because you just run a risk of burning up your motor, and I don't want you guys to do that. So we're going to be starting out, obviously, using a climb cut. This is a roughing end mill. We don't want to use the conventional tool path, so we want to use that climb to make sure we are removing as much material as possible. The 100 and 150 inches per minute, I'm going to be running at about 20,000 RPMs. The 200 inches per minute, I'm going to be running at about 25,000 RPMs. And then on the 1 inch depth, I am going to be running 26,000, and that will be the same for the 150 inches per minute. And then for the 200 inches per minute, I'm going to be using I'm going to be moving up to just a little bit to about 27,000 RPMs. So I hope that was clear. Hopefully it's not as clear as mud for you. But we're going to test it out. You may hear me speak of different RPMs when we are actually cutting the wood, because I may want to make some adjustments, but those are the feeds and speeds that I have on my piece of paper that I've kind of programmed things for. I can up my spindle speed without adjusting that within Vectric. That's fine. That's not a huge deal. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. So if you're like, hey Kate, you said this in the very beginning, that's what you did. I just want you to pay attention throughout the video, especially when I get to the 1 inch depth of cut. I may either lower or up the RPMs depending on how the wood is cutting, and we're just going to be gauging on real-time events. So just want to put that out there. But aside from that, I would just take a quick moment. I would love for you guys to hit that like button, and if you're so called to do it, I would love for you guys to subscribe to my channel to make sure that we are getting you more content. I have a really great video coming up about aura mask, stain, gel stain, paint, you name it. That video is going to be coming out really soon. You guys are going to love it. It's going to teach you everything you need to know about aura mask. So go ahead, hit that like button for me, subscribe, I would really appreciate it. But for right now, let's go ahead and jump into getting this Makita router off and running. And by the way, I am using my OneFinity CNC Journeyman X-50, and I just want you guys to know I am not testing the strength of the OneFinity. I'm only testing the strength of the Makita router with this beast bit, because I know so many of us have a Makita router and we want to use that beast bit, but we're a little bit afraid because we don't want to burn up our routers. So that's what I'm here for. We're going to get right into it, so let's go. All right, so here we go. We have the 100 inches per minute at 0.75 inches of depth, and then 150 and 200 at 3/4 of an inch deep, and then of course 100, 150 and 200 at 1 inches deep. Just wanted to show you that I have all of these as separate tool paths, not all combined into one, so then that way I can monitor and we can make notes in between each tool path if needed. So let's get this show on the road. I also wanted to make a quick note. When I was doing my first test runs on the Beast, I did not have CA glue, so I went ahead and added some painter's tape and CA glue with this along with my clamps. And you see I've got some little pieces of wood underneath here because I wanted my clamps to be elevated and coming up and then down, so we have that downward pressure. Because if I do that with this thickness and this piece of wood, it doesn't work out the way that I need it to. So I added these little blocks to make sure we have that downward pressure, that this piece of wood does not come flying off here. So, all right, without further ado, let's get cutting. All right, no problems whatsoever, absolutely clean. We heard a little bit of screaming, but not too bad. All right, let's go ahead and bump it up to 200. All right, my apologies, not 200, we're doing 150. So this was 100 inches a minute at 20,000 RPMs. Let's go ahead. All right, so I'm sure you heard the spindle is, I keep saying spindle, it's not the spindle. The router is, it needs to be upped. We've got, I mean, it's still got a really clean cut, which is great. Went all the way through, but I could definitely hear the router getting bogged down. So, okay, so I'm gonna make a note that I think we need to at least put the 150 inches per minute. I wanna put that at 25,000 RPMs. So yeah, 150, 25,000. I'm going to keep that same 25,000 RPMs for 200 inches a minute at the 3/4 of an inch depth. So let me load that and we'll see what we can do. Here we go. 200 inches a minute at 25,000 RPMs. Wow. Okay, I can safely say, I told you, this thing is ridiculously powerful. I should have pulled on this piece to show you just how powerful it is. The reason that it does this is because the bit is overpowering the router. That's why this happens. I mean, I am literally, everything I have, well, not everything I have, but everything I have with one hand, trying to move this piece back, and it's hardly budging. That tells you how powerful this bit is. And this thing didn't even, like, it didn't even miss a beat. So let's just say, and remember, we're working with, it probably looks like walnut to you guys, but it looks like cherry here to me. I'm pretty sure like 98% it's cherry. But that's a pretty hard wood, and this thing is going bananas. All right, let's move this out of the way here. I mean, we have CA glue. I've got 3 pieces of tape, and the reason I put all that on there is because I wanted you guys to see how tough this bit is. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so let's say we don't do the 200 inches a minute, either 100 or 150 inches a minute, amping up this amping up the RPMs on the 150. So 150, 25,000, 100, 20,000. I think these are going to be your best 2 options. 200 inches a minute, I don't recommend trying that. You guys saw it firsthand. I just wouldn't recommend it, and that was even at 25,000 RPMs. Now, I could bump it up, but I really don't feel like it's going to make much of a difference. Plus, that would not be sustainable if you're trying to cut a bowl or a catch-all tray or something like that. I would definitely work with these speeds here. These feeds and speeds. Boy, this is a technical video with feeds, speeds, RPMs, spindles, not spindles, and routers. All right, let's go the 100 inches per minute at 26,000 RPMs. Oh boy, I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. But we're gonna do it, because that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for. All right, let me get this. All right, everything is good and secure. Here we go. Wow. Yikes. Incredible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I heard a little bit of kind of howling coming out of the router. So I'm going to up these speeds just a little bit. I'm going to do, keep it at the 4, but I think I'm going to go to the second mark past 4. Sorry if I'm not being technical. I'm not sure what exactly that speed would be in RPM terms, but 4 and the second little mark, that's what we're going to run with. And we're going to do 150 inches per minute. Let's do it. Okay, well, there's that. All right, so I think what we need to do now is, because that was separated off, I need to go run over back to my computer. I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to come clamp this back down, and we're going to rerun this toolpath at 150 inches per minute, because you can clearly see it was working until this got loose. So let me go do that. All right, I'm back. I've got that excess taken off that was laying over here. We are at the router dial 4 plus 2 marks, and I'm about 3 inches in with my new mark, so we should have enough clearance to be away from this kind of broken off part here. So I think we're ready to go. Let's turn it on, and I'm going to hit play. right, so there you have it. I would not do the 150 inches a minute. I'm not even going to attempt the 200 inches a minute. So we've got 100 inches per minute at 26,000 for the 1 inch depth is the winner chicken dinner. Ah, there you have it. Now you know the full potential of the Makita router, a hardwood, and the Beast. Now, do I think that the Beast would be able to cut through pine a lot quicker with different feeds and speeds? Absolutely. I'm just testing the hardwoods. I wouldn't stray too far from what we're working with because I think you'll still get really good results either way if you're working with a softwood or a hardwood. The number one thing I will recommend is absolutely make sure you have some CA glue down if you don't have a vacuum table, and clamps, because this Beast bit is incredibly powerful and you don't want your project to go flying or ruin a good piece of wood, because all of us woodworkers know CNC is like having another person in the shop, but getting the wood to the right point before we can even get it on the CNC is a real pain in the butt, and the last thing you want to get to is get ready to start your project and have that sucker go flying off the spoil board. That would be a bad deal. Kind of like what you just saw, and the results aren't pretty. So, all right, let's sum up what we've learned. We've got 100 inches a minute at 20,000 3/4 of an inch. Beautiful, beautiful cut, no problems. Remember, it's a climb cut. 150 inches a minute at 25,000 3/4 of an inch deep. Worked beautifully too. We didn't have any problems with that. 200 inches a minute, nope, not gonna do it. Okay, not even gonna attempt it. You're obviously welcome to try whatever you want on pine. It's a lot softer, but I still really would stick with 100 or 100 inches per minute. That's what I would do. 100 inches a minute, 20,000 or 150 at 25,000 RPMs for that 3/4 inch depth cut are the two that I would recommend if you are using a hardwood. All right, the 100 inches a minute on the 1 inch depth, 26,000 is the sweet spot. If that's how fast you want to go, I think that would absolutely be feasible. I don't think there would be any problems with that. I'm thinking about widening this with just like a little box going around here, and then that way seeing it go back and forth. The other thing that I want you to consider when you're doing this is I am running against the grain. Obviously the wood grain goes right to left, and I'm cutting top to bottom, so that may factor into it a lot. If you choose to do a raster cut, you're going to be going back and forth, you're going to be going with the grain. Now what will happen with this bit is when you are going back and forth in that raster cut, you're going to see where the bit lands into the wood, and you're going to wind up having ridges into the wood project. Let me show you. So this is what I'm talking about. So you have your pieces here, you see where the bit was landing, where it was coming back and forth. This is when I was doing against the grain, that up and down passes, as you can see in the wood piece here. Now, this didn't really have any more success than this, but I went ahead and tried it. This was my first Beast run, and it did okay. I mean, it did all right. I will tell you, when you go to do your final pass, you may want to offset the boundary a little bit and then come in at full depth with your 1/4 inch end mill and clean all this up, so then that way you don't see this roughing. So your original vector for this, I would offset it just a little bit, have that come in, clean up at full depth, and make sure that your step over is fairly small, because if you have an 80% step over with your 1/4 inch end mill, you may run into some issues with that, and then the line isn't going to be as clear, because obviously those 1/4 inch end mills are not meant to cut at a full depth. So, you know, make sure the step over is small, or use several passes. You know, use that 0.25 pass for your 1/4 inch end mill when you're coming down, and then that way you have 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass if your offset is going to be wider than you know, half of the width of the bit. So those are my recommendations for that. Again, I hope that wasn't too confusing for some of you new beginners. Drop me a comment if you need some clarification on that. I would be happy to provide that. All right. Overall, I hope you guys have found this video helpful. If you have any other suggestions for videos that you would like for me to do and test out, drop that in the comments. Let me know. I'd be happy to accommodate what I can. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button for me and follow along with my journey at Rise and Shine Wood Signs. Thanks again for joining in. See you next time. All right, this thing is gonna work. I'm determined. All right, 250 inches a minute, 3/4 inches deep, 25,000 RPMs. Let's do this. Bless America. Well, the good news is my clamp is even more jacked up now than it was before. Oh my gosh.